Yeah.
Oh,
Thanks for coming. Joanne is a bit sick, but she's still,
Oh, hi,
well, not a bit.
Joanne.
She is sick. She's
Hi.
definitely sick, but yeah. She has
Yeah.
fever.
Oh, poor thing.
Yeah.
not cool.
I'll survive.
Oh, that's good. You're looking good.
Well, Maybelline will do that.
She's my best friend on some days.
Oh, that's sweet.
Maybelline.
And who are you? I don't think we've got introduced properly.
Okay, Susie and Eva. Y'all can. So Susie is a long time MRA, and Eva is from Norway. So I think I nobody has heard of Eva, but she's also active as an MRA. So
Okay.
yeah.
I was formerly active, perhaps not as a feminist, but surely in the feministic movement, kind of supporting, women, because I was brainwashed. We all, right? We all get raised, brainwashed to believe that we are, poor women, poor girls, we need to support other women, we need to support other girls, no matter what they do. And yeah, so that's me. I admit, I've been there, I've done that, and then I woke up.
Yep.
Luckily.
So I don't have actual themes, but one of the things I thought we could talk about today is female privilege. Do we have privilege as women, and how would we define female privilege, or yeah. One, I think, is kind of gynocentrism, in that they say that society is easier on women. Like, studies show that, in a sense, people have more sympathy for women, and they don't face as harsh jail sentences when they do similar crimes and so on.
They rarely they get arrested less too. I mean, from the minute a crime is committed, every step of the way, a woman will be treated better than a man.
Mm-hmm. And the family court system is totally tilted towards women.
Yeah.
I know all about it. I've been stuck in the family court system for the past 9.5 years.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, jeez.
And I mean, what you see there, because of my husband, I've got the knowledge and see the papers in about 5,000 and so cases, So what I'm saying is not only based on our case, but this is based on a lot of people's faith, because not faith, but fate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because even Norway, because say 10 years ago, we didn't have that many breakups in Norway with spouses from different countries. But for the past 10 years, the number has been rising, and most of those women, they take the child away from Norway or Sweden or whatever, and go back to their own home countries, right?
Yes.
And so this is strictly kidnapping. But as far as it goes, the Hague Convention also says that this is kidnapping, The child should be brought back to the country where it's born, where it has been living all of its life. But still, this is not done when it's a mother. When it's a woman, the mother that's kidnapping her child, nothing is done about it.
Right.
When it's a man, a father, then they send, Black Hawks and special forces and everything, I mean, hello?
Yes.
What's going on,
Mm-hmm.
And this is happening in 21st century, where you'd think that equality has been really moved forward, and because that's what we're fighting for, right? Equal rights, not more rights.
Mm-hmm.
Or am I wrong?
Or so we thought.
Thought. Yeah.
What are some of the rights that men are fighting for? What are some of the rights that men need that are, in your opinion?
They have zero reproductive rights. None.
Mm-hmm.
They have no choice. They have no voice in adoption, abortion, and like I said, the family court system. They can't refuse to be fathers, but they can be made to support children.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yes.
That's awful. I mean, wherever I have the chance, I write all over the place that for women, women are shouting for my pussy, my right, right? This is the slogan. So where are the rights of the father? They're quick to say that it takes two, for the man to bear responsibility. Then they always, it takes two to make a child, so he should have thought before he went to bed, right? But when it comes to the abortion theme, well, then no rights, my pussy, my choice. So I mean, yeah, that's awful. I always write wherever I have the chance. What about men's abortion rights? If we can't, it's not possible for us to grant a man a right to physical abortion, right?
Right.
But we can make it judicial or economical or something.
Right.
So he doesn't need to have the responsibility. Like you were saying, Jenna.
In the Caribbean, it was different in the past. Yeah. Before, now, of course, we have normal laws where you have child support and stuff. But historically, in the past, when a woman wasn't married, the responsibility of the child was on the woman alone.
Correct.
If she didn't have a relationship. I mean, also in the Caribbean, to say marriage wasn't so strong. So marriage, when we say marriage, I mean living with a man. So if she didn't have a man to represent her, if she wasn't living with her man, if it wasn't clear who the child belonged to, then the responsibility would have been completely on her. She couldn't just name a father and say, it's him,
And that's what feminism has done, is taken all moral and legal obligations away from women for reciprocity and just for being responsible for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Because I agree, my body, my choice, but my choice is something that I need to pay for, and I have no right to make someone else pay for it if they didn't make that choice.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a little confused as to why, if a man takes the life of a woman and he takes the life of the unborn child as well, it's a double homicide, but they don't have any right in abortion.
Correct.
Let's look at the equal standard. That's,
Oh, that was a lovely one, Joanne. High five for that. Sorry.
Yeah.
So no, but this is why aren't you saying this on national TV or worldwide TV?
So for me,
the people who run national TV
wouldn't they wouldn't let this type of talk. Yeah, but for me, on abortion, on reproductive rights for men, I don't see how they could get reproductive rights, simply because, I understand you could take away the that they have to pay, and that would be right and fair and just, but I feel like it would be unfair, bad for the child. So I don't see how we could do that. I would be scared for the for the community, for the child, for the I understand that in that case, then
man abortional rights. If I can just answer your question, because if we gave men abortional rights, then what would happen is that women, understanding that they have no financial gain, forcing men into responsibility,
they would be more cautious.
They would be more cautious.
Okay. But for me, just saying, the actual law, if you were to say, we will put a law in place that allows men to opt out of parenthood. I understand that it's just and right. I would give complete right that would be the equality thing to do. That would be fair. But I would still be very afraid of such a scenario. Just because I just can't. I think women might have children, and then this child is without care. If the country is very rich, and you can be sure that people, somehow the state can afford to take care of the children, then okay. But I would be afraid of that situation.
Right.
So I don't know if I could say I would vote for that. I would. Yeah. I don't know.
I don't think there would be born so many children.
Maybe not. Maybe not.
Because then you would force women to take responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is the only way.
Okay.
Here in the United States, there's one state out of the 50 that does DNA testing in family court, so that men they're not paying for children that are not theirs. And oh my gosh, there is such an uproar.
Yeah, well, that one I completely agree with. I completely agree with that. At any point in time, if you have DNA to prove that that is not your child, then no, you should. There's no way you should be on the hook for a child that you did not produce. That is just somebody lies to you about the most intimate thing that you could lie to somebody about. And
I wish they would make it easier for men to sue for past support when they've been sued for paternity fraud, to sue their wives, and possibly even to sue the actual father. Look, I've been supporting your child for 5 years.
But he wouldn't have known. But he wouldn't have known, eh?
Well,
that's like a luck game.
Well, a lot of them do know. Some do, some don't.
I think since it's the woman committing the fraud, she should be the only responsible. You know, because the other guy didn't know anything. He couldn't prevent it, and she knowing it, and either way, putting someone else up as a father, that makes her, the criminal. So I think she should be committed only.
Yeah, but definitely.
Well, yes. But on the other hand, she should be allowed to get support from the real father. Yeah, because he did participate. He doesn't know he's a father, so she should be able. So there's
no. Definitely, she should get from the real father. But I mean, at the point in which you realize that is not your biological child.
Right, should have no further obligation.
Obligation. I don't even understand that. You signed for a child, therefore you're obligated. No. Okay. So what?
I did have.
Go ahead.
Oh
no, you go ahead.
I had another one that I thought of. You were talking about our privilege, and in the States here, women do not get drafted into wars. I don't know if it's the same everywhere else.
I think this goes for all countries except from Israel. I think.
Yeah, I think so.
So
Iran also had a female force once.
Right. So none of us.
I'm not sure if they. I think they only have one unit now of female warriors. Otherwise, it's.
I am pretty sure that that it has actually been overturned, the male-only draft, that they did finally succeed in overturning it, but the government hasn't taken any steps to implement selective service for women. And I have reached the point where when feminists start talking about male privilege, I will literally say, you feminists have fought so hard for women to get into basically combat roles, which enables them to get into the highest paying military positions. You fought, you won. Where is your lawsuit for you as an individual to be able to sign up for selective service? Once I see that you are suing for that right, I will take you seriously.
Yep.
Because the excuse used to be, well, we're not allowed to, and that's patriarchy. Well, guess what? The patriarchy is gone thanks to you, and even just symbolically, they know they're not going to get drafted.
The draft is it's a bit of a moot because with technology and everything, nobody's going to be drafted. It's very unlikely. You never know, but it is unlikely. At least I think for most people, we live in a safe zone where we don't think we're going to get drafted at any point.
Probably not.
Yeah.
And I bet the government doesn't even have everything in place so that women could sign up, which is because it's just all administration. It's all paperwork. But the very least that a truly egalitarian feminist would do is pay the court costs just to file a suit, even if you don't take it anywhere, but put your name on a legal document, put it in the courts, have it in the public record, that's just the very least you can do, and they won't even consider it.
Mm-hmm.
So
I never understood why my son's blood was not worth the same as my daughter's.
Right.
You know what I mean? Why is Kay for my son to go and die, but my daughter shouldn't have to?
Well, for me,
that to me is privilege.
When it comes to
that's female privilege.
That's female privilege, yes. But
that your daughter can have or is capable of bringing new taxpayers, and there's only a need for one man on 1 million women.
Right. So for me, this is female privilege, but I understand it from the perspective of women carry children, and
yes. Well, and there are reasons for it. I mean, it does make sense, but it is not. It's not logically or legally consistent. And if women would accept different roles from men because they're women legally, they want all the privileges that men have. Right. They want all the advantages that men have, but as few of the responsibilities as possible, both legally and reciprocally.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
That's true.
Yeah, that's the thing. So what other?
You brought up a lovely subject last time, Joanne. It was the female or women being unsatisfied in bed, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right. Well, I said what I was talking about was I didn't understand. I understood women not being partial to sex in a time when it would result in them being pregnant. But now that we have birth control, why are women so ill? I have to do this.
Yeah. And I think there are lots of studies, still showing that women complain about being unsatisfied, And the funny thing is that as feminists, because many of those women actually, they put on their Facebook profiles, feminist,
mm-hmm.
and so hello, okay. But so they complain about not being satisfied in bed by men whom they hate, right? So they hate the man and everything, but they should satisfy them in bed. I mean, okay, you're saying you're pussy, so well, do the job.
Mm-hmm.
What's the problem?
Well, that would require them speaking their mind and owning what they want. I don't understand. When I was very young, my mom told me if I was not satisfied in bed, that was my fault because I didn't open my mouth and tell the person what I wanted.
Yeah.
So I understand how we would be awkward about it because no one ever has honest conversations about sex. But I feel like it's unfair that women just expect men to psychically know what makes them happy.
Especially when most of the women don't know themselves.
Exactly. From 5 minutes to the next.
Right.
Yeah. On this point, I'm okay with the feminist thing because I think it came from a point where men probably weren't pleasing women at all. I don't know, but I could see that happening. I could see that it probably came from there. Because
Tell me, dear, where does it come from that men have an obligation to please women? I mean, do you have...
No. It's not about obligation. It's just if you're in a relationship together. And I think how I rationalize that is that, okay, historically, biology doesn't really care about women's pleasure in bed. It's more about the male's pleasure because he has to finish in order for children to be produced. So I could see that it could be that the men didn't care. I don't know, just the way everything works in sex, I could see that could happen, that like if the men don't care about pleasing the woman, it could go wrong. I could see that.
It could.
Yes, and not only that, I wouldn't be surprised if men were socialized to understand that women are being taught that this is an obligation and not something fun. So
right.
how were there couples who discovered that, wow, this really is fun for both of us?
Exactly, yeah, because historically it was all about making babies. You didn't want a lot of, right.
Yes.
So I could see that, and then now that we come into this sort of world with birth control and fun sex and stuff, then you need to change your attitudes towards sex, and okay, you need to care more about the woman. I also see your point, Eva, that women also have to take some kind of responsibility also to sort of find our own pleasure. That I totally see that as well. So yeah, and then, well, in terms of women not wanting sex in this day and age with when birth control is not an issue, I guess it's just that women have lower sex drives than men sometimes, mostly or whatever on average. I guess
fluctuates with us because of our hormones.
Yeah, so I understand why feminists complain about that thing with sex. I get it. That one, okay, but yeah, it's a minor thing, really.
Yes, but then feminists turn around and refuse to encourage women to take responsibility for their own happiness.
Right. So it's also a blame game. That's also not necessary.
Yes, it's always somebody else's fault that you're not happy. And now that women are talking openly about feminism, should have been one of the best things that happened to really to society, because that would mean women are solving women's problems. They want everyone else to do it, and that's
on all levels, and it's always the man that needs to bear the responsibility, and always the man that needs to pay if a woman isn't happy, so
you can excuse anything a woman does, and you can excuse a lot more that men do, because hey, the world is a safer place. But when somebody has to pay the bill at the very end of the day, it's the man.
Yeah,
he does not get excused. And really, ironically, that is patriarchy, because historically, one of the reasons society we're all intrigued by the Romanovs and the French Revolution was that the rebels, they didn't just execute the king; they executed the queen and the family. And historically, it's rare when your castle is taken over and you're ousted, the lord of the manor is the one who hangs from the rafters. The lady of the manor actually is a very useful tool as a conquered person, as far as how she relates to everyone else. So that's a practical reason. But everybody, that's when they suddenly assume that the woman has had nothing to do with her husband's policies or whatever. So why would we execute her? She's not the criminal. She's not responsible for everything. She's not the people.
Yeah, that's an aspect of feminism that I feel personally is real, and probably one of the first things that because it's kind of like, I think women and men were, of course, running society however they did. Yes, there was elite, but I just think everything was however it was, right? And then, all of a sudden, feminists turn around and sort of backstab the men and say, well, it wasn't me,
exactly.
All of this,
and that speaks to our communication style. Why don't talk about what we want sexually? Because women's MO is plausible deniability.
Right. So and this is really unfair, especially when it comes to when you're talking about black, things with black people and slavery and stuff like this. Feminists are like, oh, we're all for black women and stuff like this right now. We're all for black women. And it wasn't us. It was patriarchy. It was just the men who were... And I've seen stuff like that. I've seen women argue that basically because women didn't have power, that's why slavery and all that stuff happened. And it's it's so... of course, the women weren't there, so it's a figurative or metaphorical stabbing. But the point is, it's how could you stab the men in the back like that? It was a societal wide thing. How could you just, decide now that you're gonna blame it on men and say it wasn't you? This is crazy. This is it's obviously women benefited from all of what their men did. Whatever their men did, it benefited them. And obviously women were there saying yes, you go out and plunder that society and take what you can. Yes, you go out and,
Yes, women.
Most of the kings, I don't know if you've read some history books, but most of the kings, even like the Roman Caesars and stuff, they were all having strong female advisors
right.
in form of their wives or their sisters or something. This
right.
happened with Gustav Vasa, the Swedish king. And so I mean, women have been playing like this crucial part, but invisible part.
Right, but we were always there within society.
Yeah. So the men have actually been our puppets. We have been pulling all the strings and making them do whatever we wanted them to do. And the history shows it very clearly in several occasions.
Yeah, so, history is made up of men and women, and they both work together. Historically, they had to work together to survive. Yes. And they worked together, and everything that was done, by both. It was supported by both, depending on the time and so on. You have to go back. Have y'all heard about the 4B movement in Korea? Has anybody heard about it?
I just heard the name, but I don't.
Okay, so 4B movement is kind of like MGTOW. But for feminists, I will look it up and say a definition. I'll just say, the 4B movement is in Korea. It stands for 4Bs because in Korean language, there are 4Bs, and the Bs are like they're no longer having sex with men. They're no longer having relationships with men. They're no longer having children with men, and they're no longer getting married. So these are the 4 things that they are not going to do.
Oh my God! I mean, has anyone seen this movie called I think it was Sex Mission from 1980-82 or something? A Polish movie, but it's translated to English. It's so. It's telling us about what the feminists wanted the future to look like. It's showing a future where all the men are extinct. So everything is done by women, and the whole world is made out of women, and there are only female babies being born.
So in Korea, there are these 4Bs, which are marriage, childbirth, sex, and relationships, right? So these women decided they're not gonna have these 4 things with men, and they call it the 4B movement. It's just a few radical feminists, and then, of course, in the West, the women sort of picked it up, and they're saying they want to have a 4B movement, Western 4B movement, right? So, of course, it is extreme radical feminists who are saying that they're not having any relationships, children, marriage, or sex with men. And I find that to be very interesting because
it's the equivalent of a child.
Show me. I would like to see the houses those women are living in.
Right. This is like
a child, a washing machine or a dishwasher or whatever, or even a car. Because if they don't, and if they live in a cave that they have dig out themselves and wash their clothes in the river, then it's okay. Then I support them. That's but right. Otherwise, oh my God, yeah.
Yep. I see them as children pretending to run away from home, and or camping in the backyard and pretending this is my house and I'm an independent adult. And I got to go into the kitchen to get snacks from my mom and dad's refrigerator. But no, I can do this. Just so long as the yard is safely fenced and you're safe and you're warm and you have a nice sleeping bag and you have snacks from the kitchen. As long as you got all that, you go, girl. That's really what it's about.
This is going to cut off in 2 minutes. Would you all be okay to rejoin if I send a link? Or you have enough time, Susie? Okay. For like half an hour again, if possible?
Oh, yes, I do.
Okay.
Yes, I do.
So, I find the 4B movement reminds me a bit of men going their own way. I understand men going their own way, but that's what it reminds me of, except for the fact that feminists have no reasoning behind they're
Well,
going
not only
their own
that,
way.
men
But,
pay their own bills when they go their own way.
right,
Right.
yeah.
And don't congratulate themselves for it either.
Hmm?
Oh, I'm such a tough woman because I pay a mortgage.
Yeah.
Like, women want to medal for something men have to do all the time. I'm confused.
Oh, strong and independent. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
You say that.
But well,
to a
if
guy-
they really having no sex or marriage with men, well, they really have nothing to do with them, eh? Or children, or relationships. So
What
it
a
is.
horrible idea.
It is.
90% of them are going to be absolutely miserable and still think it's men's fault.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's true. This is gonna cut off soon. Yeah, that's true. They're probably gonna be miserable and blame their misery on men regardless. But
Right. They have to be abstinent because men are terrible.
Yeah. But it is interesting. Yeah, that's something from Korea, which I think is probably something to do with like growing pains. I don't know how it is in Korea, what they are complaining about, but it has nothing to do with the West. It's I think Korean women say they have to do all the housework and all of the women's work is still on them, and they want the men to share the burden.
So they're like in the 60s.
Well, they just say that the men don't share the burden of housework and stuff. And I feel like Western men already got this message, and they are not there where Korean
Deniability. Legally, they have almost all the same rights, except like with abortion, but it's policy that subverts their rights by giving privilege to women. So, because I mean, for instance, in family courts, there are several states where fathers who are married to the mother do have a better chance of getting custody. And so if you get your girlfriend pregnant, it's not necessarily a bad thing to marry her, just to guarantee that you have some rights to your kids. Well, technically you have all those rights, but the policies steer them away from you.
Okay, I see.
In non-legal ways. It's not written there, but we should consider this. We need the woman, mitigating circumstances, this, that, and suddenly men don't have access to their rights without opening their wallets and going bankrupt. Whereas women, you have to go to court to get rights to your children, and they tell the women the same thing, except that when a woman walks in the courtroom, they just give her access to their child, where men have to fight for it. So
I didn't hear the question. Can I?
Okay, so we were just talking about which rights men lack. And she's like, well, legally, they have the rights, but the problem is, for example, if you get your girlfriend pregnant, you don't have access to that child. She's the one who has first access to that child, and the court is set up in such a way that they would say, for example, the child lives there. Well, we don't want to displace the child, and so on and so on. So it's like legally, the guy would have the same access to his child as the woman, but practically speaking, it doesn't work out.
It's not a coincidence.
I know how, Joanne, you've probably heard about Greg Ellis and his book, Family Court. No, not Family Court, but Family Cartel, the Cartel of Family Law.
I didn't do that.
No, well, Greg Ellis, from Pirates of the Caribbean. Yeah, so he went through all of that, and and it's so easy for women to manipulate you, like with accusations of all kinds, and the man is like left defenseless. Right. So you go into a family court where basically the system is like you're innocent until otherwise is proven, right? Until guilty is proven. But in a family court, that doesn't exist. As a man, you are the guilty one from the start, no matter what has happened, no matter who done whatever, you are the guilty part, So
that's
no matter what the law
says. That's true in the criminal as well, because a woman accuses rape or assault, and it's automatically the men have to fight their way out of the hole.
Yes,
that's true. And we've seen way too many cases like that in the past 20 years, So people have been on death row, and then it turns out that they weren't even at the place where the rape or the murder was committed, But that turns out like 20 years later. So, I mean, for 20 years, that man has been jailed and been basically his life has been ruined, taken away. They take away his life, right?
I had to.
And many of those cases that I've heard of or read about in the papers here in Europe, actually women have been the only evidence that the courts have had, what the women have told the courts has been the only evidence against the man. No DNA, no nothing that matched, nothing, the teeth didn't match, nothing matched. And still the guys do get sentenced to jail for lifetime,
Right.
So it's awful, Men are basically being deprived of all of their rights when it comes to court.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. I even teach my children. I teach my children how to defend themselves, but I have to teach the boys differently than the girl, because the boys have to be able to subdue a woman without causing injury to them. So they don't go to jail. Because when there's an altercation, the cops show up and they put the handcuffs on the man regardless.
Yeah.
I'm afraid for them.
Yes.
It's always boys being shot, when something is happening. It's there have been like many social experiments, right, where you see a woman start beating her boyfriend and nobody's reacting. But then after like 2, 3, 4 minutes of taking the beat, he simply pushes her away or something. And then everyone, attacking him, I mean, hello, what is it? What's wrong with those people, So it's okay for a woman to beat her boyfriend or her husband, even publicly.
Yes.
But as soon as he tells her to stop and just pushes her away, to make her stop, then he's a perpetrator,
Right.
So,
now, when a woman does it, it's because she needs help or because he deserved it.
Right.
When he does it, it's because he's a monster.
Exactly.
Right.
And that is almost a universal belief. We have taken...
And still, just to make it a little bit more, what you call it, controversial, he's a monster, but still we need them to please us in bed. We need them to make us happy. Otherwise, we complain and complain and complain, So, that's so, for me, it's really, that's the worst kind of hypocrisy, because feminists pretend that they can do anything a man can do, but they're incapable of pleasing themselves in bed.
Right.
Yeah.
Hello. No, serious stuff.
And that defines so much of feminism, because basically they are right. Women can do pretty much everything a man could do. Not as well, or less of it, because we're weaker.
Right.
That's just a physical reality. But we won't if we don't have to. If we can find a man to do it and lure him in with sex, that's how we pay our bills. Even though, we are perfectly capable of going out, learning a trade, getting a job, doing real valuable work. But no, we'd rather, be on social media or going to HR, which is a boondoggle in itself, doing useless jobs to bring in a little extra money and show how strong and independent we are. But we let the men do our work, our dirty work for us.
I wouldn't even say that we let them do it. We, by choosing the lifestyles that most of the women that do the kind of jobs that you say just earn a little bit on the side do, we force our men to bear the heavy load,
Yes. Yeah.
So we're basically depriving them their right to have some kind of, like, I don't know, most of the guys don't have a spare time even, because they're busy working 12 or 16 hours a day, in order to support the wifey and the children at home. So
most of the time they also don't have the luxury of having jobs that they actually like and enjoy.
No. They have jobs they hate, but they do them because they know that they need the money, right? So, and most of the jobs that the men do are, well, as we've talked about it before, those are the dangerous jobs, They risk their lives. Many of the men risk their lives every single day. And nobody in the society is actually appreciating it, It's just, that's just a man's job, Well, that's the job. Those jobs are the ones that keep the wheels turning, right, in our societies. Our societies would stop if it wasn't for the men doing not only what they like to, but what they have to do.
Yes.
What they are forced to do, because they don't have a choice.
Mm-hmm.
Women, what do we teach our girls? From we are small, we hear you can become anything you like. You can do whatever you like in your life, While boys are headed to some kind of trade, right? They can do, you need to do this, you need to be responsible, you need to be punctual, you need to be whatever, So, back to scratch, we need to teach our girls to take responsibility.
Yeah. I wanted to, did you guys see, like 2 years ago with the women's soccer team here? And they were arguing that they wanted to get paid the same as the men.
Mm-hmm.
I saw that. I remember it.
Get a lot of that from female athletes.
Oh my gosh. But the men had they would only get paid if they won, which is why they were getting paid more. The women got paid regardless, and then they wanted things like medical benefits and maternity leave. So they weren't weighing out the benefit with the actual monetary value. They wanted it all. They wanted the pay and all of the benefits.
That's right. Yes.
But isn't that typical?
It really is. And we're taught we're entitled to it. And those hard jobs, most people don't even know those jobs exist. We are so wealthy and sheltered. Feminism, this whole patriarchy theory, oppression crap, never took off until early, middle 20th century, when there were enough middle-class women who didn't witness how their world operated. Didn't even have to look at it. Didn't even have to wonder if someone was suffering for their comfort. Because, your husband wears a tie to work and a suit, and he doesn't do really hard work or hard physical work. We don't look beyond our own experience and we don't have to, because I know if I turn the faucet on, water's going to come in.
Right. Exactly.
If I didn't know that, I'd be a little more concerned about what was going to happen tomorrow. And who was making me safe, and who's most likely to make me safe in the future. And what am I going to owe them for it? And women don't think that way now. And men who would like to not think that way end up getting punished for it.
Right.
Women are rewarded for not taking care of themselves. But men, if they don't, going back to the strong and independent woman crap, if you have to brag about it, no, guys don't brag about it, because they know from high school on that if they're not strong and independent, they're going to be pariahs. They're going to be just like the scum of the earth.
Right.
And women have the choice. We have the option. We can continue to be children, and we won't get mocked too badly if we pretend and tell everyone we're adults and strong and independent, even though we're not.
Right.
The ladies will just say, "You go, girl."
Right. Slay Queen.
There was, I don't know if you've heard, there was this Norwegian rapport. Oh my God, how do you say it? Norwegian. Oh my God, give me a second. I need to think of the word. Report? No, another word for report.
Study,
yeah.
Study, yeah. Okay, so there was this Norwegian study published 3 years ago, and it says clearly that Norwegian women cost the government 5.3 or 6 times as much, each of us, as a man. That means for each woman, you can raise 5 men, or have them keep them their entire life, So I mean, and Norway is considered to be the most equal country in the world. We have the most female resources regarding road building or house building or whatever. The women weld, they drive trucks, they do everything. In Norway, this is like the wow, the glory of the feminist era. So they are doing it in Norway, but still, each and one of us costs more than 5 times as much as a man.
Why is that? How are the women costing the government more? Is healthcare, or what is it?
When we work, we do not work as much as men do. Okay. So therefore, we do not pay as much taxes as men do. When we work, we do have jobs
and then maternity
paid
leave
by taxpayers.
Right, and then maternity leave.
Women are teachers, nurses, whatever. Those are jobs paid by the real taxpayers.
Right.
Yes.
So when she pays tax from her wage, all of her money, 100% of her money is money from the government, and then she gives just a little bit back. So therefore, women cost a lot more, and women also tend to use doctors a lot more. We tend to be a lot more sick. We have much more sick leaves, and then the motherhood, of course, and pregnancies and stuff. And also, we live 10 to 15 years longer than average male, meaning that the costs of us keeping us alive or while we get old, right? This makes the total amount very, very high. So,
it looks equal on the surface, but men are paying the bills.
Men are paying the bills. They are.
Men are supporting it. If you stopped, I mean, this joke, these women taking whole country women take the day off work. Nobody cares. Exactly. Can you imagine? Did how many businesses stopped running? How many utilities, electric companies?
That would be men.
Yeah. But if men took
a week,
even half a day off, but if men took a day off, I would not leave my house because it wouldn't be safe. No cops. Okay, like maybe one cop in my town. Emergency personnel, firefighters, paramedics, EMTs, and the utilities, everything. One thing goes wrong down at the sewage treatment plant, and I can't flush my toilet.
Right.
And the water plant, same thing. One thing goes wrong, the whole thing shuts down. And women are perfectly capable of doing those jobs, but women don't want to do those jobs, so women haven't learned how to do those jobs. So yeah, men take a day off, society will crumble. One day.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And it'll take months to recover from what would happen if men took one day off. Mm-hmm. Women take a day off and they have a parade and, the news camera shows up.
Right.
I think the COVID was kind of like
I was just thinking about COVID. And I was thinking it would be interesting to know how many of the essential workers were men versus women. Because, the non-essential workers were able to stay at home. But essential workers had to work. And I wonder what's the ratio. But I don't know if there's a way to tell.
I think we're talking about 9 to 1. or 9 to 10. Yeah. So
probably,
but in
because of
healthcare,
all
not.
the infrastructure jobs.
In healthcare, there are a lot of women. So
Well, yes,
yeah,
definitely. Healthcare, there would be it would probably be pretty equal.
Yeah.
But most necessary jobs, the truck drivers. I worked in a warehouse. We didn't stop working, and we're majority men there.
Right.
Yeah, most
farms, all these things. I don't know. Construction wasn't considered essential, but construction is essential to society.
Yes.
So,
well, and some construction would be
yeah.
if something, okay,
Depends,
a bridge collapses. There's an emergency.
Right. Okay.
You're in the middle of a road project. They couldn't just stop rebuilding a road for a year. So yeah, I think most essential workers would have been men.
Yeah. Joanne, she's you're in healthcare, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yes, I'm a nurse.
Right. You continued working during COVID, or how? Oh, okay.
I had to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So female privilege comes in the form of, like, when you go to court and stuff, it's easier. The system is designed for you in terms of the child reproductive rights major. What
rape
other
and
ways?
Assault cases. Rape and assault cases.
Rape and assault cases. Okay, what other ways are men disadvantaged? Okay, emotionally, I see that point that men are socialized to be like more closed
public
up.
transport, even. I mean, we teach our boys, to give up the seat for pregnant women or old women.
Okay, but I find these things to be right, though. Not just I find that to be just if somebody is disadvantaged with respect to you, pregnant, old.
I mean, it's fine, but when you see young women entering a bus, and they look nasty at some guy because he's sitting there and not making a seat available to her, I mean, that's not okay,
Okay.
But this is what comes from what we teach our girls, We teach them to demand. We do not teach our girls to be responsible. We teach them to demand, and we teach them to demand even more. So,
and it's institutionalized. It's in the schools, and the schools also have programs to help girls, get girls in.
Did anybody see? Yeah. Okay, what's another way? But I wanted to ask, did anybody see that film, Rain There, Baby Rain There on Netflix?
What was it?
Baby Rain There? Baby Rain There? Okay, maybe y'all could look at that, and the next time we could discuss it if y'all look. Okay, but now, what were you saying?
Oh my God, I had it. Abuse. So there's tons of domestic abuse shelters for women. There's only one here for men in the United States.
Okay, yes. But Baby Rain There was a film. Okay, no, I can't tell y'all if y'all gonna watch it, but it is an interesting film from MRA perspective because it's the true story of a guy who goes through some stuff related to MRA stuff in terms of he's I don't know if he's a victim, but he is like a victim of stuff that usually you would say only happens to women. And it's just really interesting how he dealt with it, and it was difficult for him because he couldn't open up about it because society would see him. Society doesn't let men open up in this way,
right?
And it was Baby. What is it, Baby?
Rain There, like the animal. The animal, there's a reindeer animal. Yeah, this. Yeah.
Okay, so it is reindeer.
Reindeer, yeah.
Okay. I will definitely look that up.
Right, me too.
But now you're into the second subject, like large subject, because 65, according to, I think it was an American study, 65% of all sexual abuse against children is committed by other children or minor, right? So a lot of the cases we have where it's a father that gets the blame, the actual perpetrator is the mother's new boyfriend, mostly, or some other kid, But
Yeah.
But this is like, for the kids, it's a shame, to say, well, yeah, we've been experiencing something, or blah, 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 experimenting.
Yeah.
So they blame the father, because that's what the mothers tend to put those words into the children's mouth,
Right.
Was it the father, right?
Of all the adults.
Why do they do that? Because they have an economical winning out of it, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's
so
what I mean by it. But among all the adults in a child's life, the one least likely to hurt or kill them is the biological father.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Anyhow, we know that, but the courts still give the mothers the full rights, and the mother's new boyfriend or boyfriends, no matter how many, have more rights to that man's child than he has,
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, we deprive the fathers of all of the rights, we give the mother full rights, and by doing so, we expose those children to an extreme danger.
We do?
Yeah, at least.
Mm-hmm.
But this is the truth. This is like, we know this from nature as well, right? When there is a new lion that takes over the hierarchy, what does he do, So, I mean, this is awful, but this is the way it is. I've read so many statistics regarding this theme, and it is always, most of the times, it is always the mother's new boyfriend or boyfriends.
That gives an interesting spin on guys who say they don't want to date single mothers, because then it's like, oh well, at least they are normal. Maybe you have to look at those who do want to date them.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and
I don't know.
It's a very common thing for child predators.
I do know of one. I have a cousin who, one of my cousins. She lives in America, and her mother also lived in America, but she was originally from the Caribbean. Her mother had her in the Caribbean, left her in the Caribbean, and then when she was around, I think around 12 or so, she moved to America to meet her mother. Her mother was with a guy at the time who was her boyfriend. And she lived together with the mother and the boyfriend. She got pregnant when she was 14, and yes, and she got pregnant for the father, her stepfather, who was living with her at the time. Mm-hmm. When it came out and she told the mother and everything, that she got pregnant for this guy, the mother kicked her out of the house at 14.
Oh my God!
Wow.
You know what?
The mother said that she slept with the guy because she was too fresh, in terms of like, she pursued this guy. She got kicked out. She ended up, I don't know where, but then she went back to the Caribbean. She had the child. She's in a good place now, I guess, but she's actually kind of crazy. But I mean, in her own way, she's lesbian. She's not lesbian, but she says she doesn't sleep with guys because I guess she had sexual trauma, at a young age and stuff.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
she sleeps with women. She's openly lesbian in a sense, in that her sexual partners are always lesbian, and this is a problem because the society that she comes from, I come from, whatever. The funny thing is they can handle a 14-year-old having a child, which is awful. But they can't handle a woman sleeping with another woman. So this this sort of broke up the relationship she had with her grandparents, who are the people who grew her up, right? Mm-hmm. And it's a long story. But anyway, it doesn't really matter, the whole story. That part of it is what is important. But go ahead now, back to what you were saying. But yeah, it happens sometimes that the father sleeps with the child. Yes.
Yes.
Well, stepfather. I mean, stepfather. We need to correct that, because it is mostly never the father. It is always the stepfather, and most of the cases that I've been looking at in Poland for the past 5 years, it has always we have children being killed or being abused to that degree that they die after a month in hospital, and it is always the stepfather, So we, as responsible women, we need to start talking about it, and we need to raise awareness around the theme, because this is awful, The judges are actually handing the kids into the arms of predators, and they leave them as prey, open for the mothers. Women are so irresponsible when it comes to new relationships, because most of them, they just go out of one relationship and into the next one. And they don't even bother considering or checking out on the guy, whatever. They just like his physical appearance, and that's the only thing. The sex drive takes over, and they don't care. I mean, women, I've heard of cases where women have met a guy, moved in with him in a week or a month, and they leave the children to those men while they're absent, working or something, And then they come home and the kids has broken this and that and blah, 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 and isn't breathing, and or the stepfather or her boyfriend pours boiling water over the head of the kid, This is so awful, and the real fathers are being deprived of the rights, while nobody is bothering on checking who the mother lets into the household with the kids, No one is demanding for the women to be responsible. If you want to raise those children, well, okay, darling, you cannot let all sorts of people, inside your house, because this is irresponsible. We do not say that. We tell the women, the girls, the mothers that are divorced that, well, it's okay for you to be with whoever you want to, you can have sex with as many as you like to. It's nobody's business. So,
yeah.
But it should be. I think it should be somebody's business, because when we have the children, basically defenseless children, right? Someone should look out for their best. And if we don't do that as a society, if we women, responsible women, don't start to talk about it and don't start to demand for something to happen in this area.
But I don't think, even though, this may happen, but I don't think sexual assault is a very common thing for children. I mean,
it is very common.
It is?
Yes.
It is.
Okay.
Unfortunately, it is.
Okay.
Yeah. However, it is only a minority of people who commit this crime.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was totally appalled. Even
65% of all sexual abuse of children is committed by other minors.
Okay.
This is what the studies show, But often other people get blamed, like the fathers, for something that another minor committed, So,
right. Right. Okay.